This is TWiT. So you got an iPhone at the event, I guess, because you've had it for a week.
Yeah. Got a couple.
Ooh,
Which ones did you get?
look at this.
I'll hold them up. Can you see them?
Oh my God, a couple. It looks like an iPhone 11 in lavender and an iPhone Pro 11 and a Pro 11 Pro Max in khaki or tactical green.
Midnight green, yeah.
Midnight green. All right. All right. And I see pictures of Georgia Dow and her flaming red hair and the flaming sunset. So
Yeah.
Georgia lied to us when she said, I don't know if Rene has an iPhone. I don't know. Of course, I knew she was lying.
Yeah, what was it that Spock said? She implied.
She said, I don't know what Rene's doing. Well, Rene, it turns out, was up late. So what do you think? Actually, Lory, did you get in or did you?
I did.
So
I did get to go. Yeah.
So your ploy of sitting outside looking mournful worked.
It did. Somebody felt bad for me and actually invited me to the event.
Did like an Apple employee come out and say, "I'm sorry, here's a muffin"?
It was the patchouli oil. I'm telling you, it actually worked.
So you were both there. Awesome. So God, I have so many questions. Of course, I have already ordered the 11 Pro Max, so say nothing bad about it.
Nice. It's so good.
There's nothing bad to say, is there?
No, I mean, like, it depends on how nitpicky you want to be about Pro. Like, should Pro be like an iPad where it has USB-C and a pencil and, a couple other things? You could make an argument for that, absolutely. But the stuff that it does have, it does very, very well. Yeah,
Pro, and we talked about this last week, really is meaningless when it comes to a phone. It's not like a Mac Pro. Yeah. It's a little less meaningful with an iPad, but it's totally meaningless.
No, I had a Trio Pro 10 years ago. It was fine.
So Pro for Apple means the more expensive one.
Yeah.
It's not even, the 11 Pro is actually smaller than the 11, right? It's not even the biggest one.
Yes. And but they've got super battery life now, Leo, so they're not feeling bad about themselves anymore.
That actually is question one from my point of view. Apple claimed 5-hour better battery life on the iPhone 11 Flow Max. Is that the case?
So my usual testing is Pokemon Go Community Day because that's 4 or 5 hours of GPS and data and screen on and just basically everything you can think of. The screen is rendering, the GPU, the CPU are all busy. And we went like 4 hours and an hour after that, and then I was photographing and filming, and I hit the red around midnight, which has never happened before. I'm not even sure that happened with a battery case before.
Holy cow.
And they're brand new. Like, these are brand new batteries, so they're going to go as long as Apple says they're going to go. So I'm going to see how they do, 3 months later, 6 months later. But it's the OLED display is 15% more efficient, and the A13 SoC is between 15 and 40% more efficient. When you put those two things together with a slightly larger battery, miracles are accomplished.
Well, and iOS 13, we're already hearing people with older phones on iOS 13 getting better battery life. So Apple's optimized in every possible corner. Yeah. That's pretty good. In fact, I know it's not tied to the departure of Johnny Ive, but to see Apple make a slightly thicker phone with better battery life.
A little thicker, a little heavier.
Yeah.
I think people will live very nicely with extra battery life.
Yeah. Nobody's saying slimmer.
It's something they do. Like, they did that with the 6S because they started putting the gasketing and the sealing for water resistance. Then they did it with the 7 because that was officially water resistant. And now these are the most water resistant iPhones ever. And they also have a bunch of other stuff in them. So they do go up a little bit, but then they have a tendency to go back down. So I'm just hoping they stick with it and just keep filling it with battery as though it were frosting.
We're going to be spoiled.
Just keep pumping it in there.
We're going to be totally spoiled.
My question is, will people on YouTube still be able to bend them?
I mean, they'll break them
and
glass, and if they were ceramic, they'd shatter them.
You can break and bend anything, given enough torque.
But can they still blame Apple for it?
Glass,
yeah, but can you blame Apple? Exactly. I've been very impressed with the night shots. As you were talking, I think it was before the show started, about how you found yourself on a darkened roof at midnight.
I tweeted that. Like, I wasn't even expecting anything. I just wanted to take a shot. I turned the flash off so it couldn't fire. And then I took one with the 10R and one with the 11. And you could see everything. It was like, the interesting thing is, I was looking, we were doing some comparisons between the different night modes, the Google night mode, Huawei, Samsung's, Apple's, and they all make very different choices. Like, some of them reduce color to try to enhance clarity, and some of them just they don't really resolve texture too much. They try to focus on people more. And Apple is trying to get as much color as they can, but also detail in different textures. So like wood looks different than cloth, then looks different than skin. And it's almost an artistic dark night mode, and they don't want it to look like day. Like some companies just want to turn night into day, but they make the light fall off pretty quick if they can find a subject in it, so it's still kind of moody and has a lot of ambiance.
So yeah, this is the AI feature. This is by the way, this is a 10R picture from the roof, and this is the same picture with the 10 or 11 Max.
Just the 11. That's not even the
11. Just
Pro.
the 11. Not even the 3. Not even the 3 lens version.
No.
So side by side, you can.
It only
really
shoots night mode with the regular camera, because that has 100% focus pixels, and it's using those to suck in as much light as it can before it does everything else.
So what I understand, and you got briefed, so correct me, but the minute you open the camera app, it starts taking pictures. It starts understanding the picture using machine learning, saying that's a face, that's a brick, that's sky. And it also does an interesting thing that Google does not do. Much of this is similar to what the Pixel 3 did, but it takes a overexposed picture, an extra bright picture, throws that in the mix, then takes your picture, and you said that picture is with the one lens.
Yeah.
You don't have to say night mode. That's another thing. With the Google Pixel, you have to put it in night mode. This just does it.
What happens is there's this little icon next to the flash that turns yellow when light gets dark enough, and it'll say 1 second, and then it gets darker, it'll say 2 seconds, gets even darker, it'll say 3 seconds. And then when you take the picture, you see a little tack line across the bottom sort of fly across, showing you how long you should hold the picture still for. And then once you have it, it sort of gets brighter and brighter in the viewfinder. So I say entertain you so you don't move too much while you're taking it. And then the picture will come up. And it takes about as long to save as the iPhone 7 did a portrait mode. So it takes like, a second to save, depending on how complicated everything is. And then you have the picture. And I think it's pulling information off the live preview. One of my favorite things about Apple's phones is they've always tried to make the live preview, like they fuse anything they need to make that live preview realistic. And so that's 3 second thing is pulling all the data out of the preview image that they're getting, so they can figure out, okay, this is a human face. I've got to make sure the color is right. It's got to look like skin. There's no face in this. I don't have to worry so much. This is a light. And it does all that stuff, like you said before. It pre-crunches everything so that you can get that picture when you tap it, and doesn't have to do it after you've taken the shot.
It's also doing the portrait again. And boy, these portraits of Georgia are gorgeous. And I really think this is kind of neat. These are HDR. Is the HDR, actually Apple's calling it XDR, aren't they?
So the display is XDR. It's smart HDR for the photos, XDR for the display. It's super.
And that's really more just a callback to the Mac Pro display, the XDR display, than anything else.
The peak brightness and sustained brightness levels.
So these are smart HDR shots. Again, you don't have to tell it to. It just does it. In the past, Apple and other phones have maybe taken HDR too far, sometimes over-sharpening or over-softening, but these look pretty darn good.
Or like Austin Mann exposing silhouettes when you actually want a silhouette as an artist.
These really are just great. That's a beautiful picture.
She has the sun behind her, which is what we were trying to do to see, all the light was basically behind her at that point.
So that's historically something that iPhone has not done well, is backlight photography. In fact, Nilay Patel has a series of shots that he shows the 10R not handling backlight well at all, and the 11 doing much better. This looks great.
Yeah, and again, like if it gets too dark for the night mode, it'll just switch to flash if you have the flash enabled. So it's sort of smart like that. And if you have a tripod or you can hold it on a surface, like you put it up on a surface, it'll do the night mode for up to 28 seconds. So they were showing some pictures that look like you pulled every star out of the night sky. Wow.
All right, and now thanks to Snapchat, you can do 3D selfies. I don't know. I don't even know what it is. Micah Sargent was showing me in Snapchat. And actually, you don't even need the new phones. You could do it with the older phone, too. You can get 3D selfies, which are kind of creepy weird.
The only big difference with the Pro now is because when you do portrait mode, you use the wider lens to get the depth data. You now have 2 portrait modes because you can shoot telephoto with the wide angle depth data or wide angle with the ultra wide angle depth data. So you get both the close-up and the mid-range portrait mode, which is nice.
Apple started with the iPhone 11, not the 11 Pro, mentioned that the 10R last year was its best-selling iPhone. You think now that you have both, do you think most people should get an 11 and not a Pro?
Yeah, I mean, first I just got to say that, the Wall Street Journal called the iPhone 10R beleaguered and a failure, I think 18 times successively in print.
Boy,
so it's
were
nice
they
to see it didn't give up on itself and just walk off into the Arctic and die. And I think a couple people have said it was the best. I don't know if it was IDC, but a couple analysts said it was the best selling phone in the world. Single phone, not conglomeration of phones, which is neat.
Well, and partly that was battery life. Clearly sending two signals to Apple. Price and battery life are important to consumers, and Apple responded this year.
And a little fun, a little bit of humor, a little bit of whimsy every once in a while. Yeah. But yeah, everyone should get the 11. It's and I'm not just saying, like, if you care desperately about OLED, because that OLED display is really, really nice. It's using Samsung's latest process, same one that's used on the Galaxy S10, and Apple's doing their own thing with it. So it's like, it's not exactly the same, but it's using that process, Apple's materials and their mitigations and stuff, but it looks really, really great. And if you really want a telephoto camera, those are the big differences. There are some small differences, like the waterproofing is better. You might like the textured surface better. You might really want 4x4 MIMO, aggregated LTE, if you even know what that is. So there's like 3 or 4 things that if you're a nerdy nerd about any or multiple of those things, you're going to want the Pro. But I think the vast majority of people won't even notice that those things aren't there. And
it starts at $699. Is
and
64 gigs
cheap too.
Too small? Should you up the storage?
I would, for 2 reasons. One is I'm at 69 gigs, so I would have to. But also, it's just $50. Like Apple traditionally is $100.
Yeah.
It's just $50 to go to 128, and that's a pretty good. It's not the best deal in the world, but it's a really good Apple deal.
And 128 is probably enough for most people, right?
Let me be a different voice on that one though. I have about 35. I've used about 35 gigs on my phone, and it's my daily driver. It's not like an extra phone. It's the one I use all the time. So not everybody is going to be using that much storage. So I'm thinking, a lot of real techie people who do a lot of really techie type stuff, they're gonna ramp that up.
Lory.
But if you put a lot of stuff in the cloud, like I don't put music on my phone because I can stream it. I don't put movies on my phone because I can stream it. So if you're doing a lot of stuff in the cloud, you don't actually need 128. But Rene is right. It's only $50 more if you wanted to go for it.
Oh, the other thing is you might be using the camera more. You might be shooting a lot more video. Both of these are spectacularly good. That's the kind of thing that fills up a phone fast, although you can offload it.
Yeah. Now that 60 frames per second 4K is available in different in more modes, now that you have a much better display with spatial audio, you might find yourself thinking, well, I may as well download stuff from Netflix and keep it on my phone instead of watching stuff on my laptop. The thing about storage is that you can't add it later. So yeah, for $50, particularly with a phone that I think is designed that you will just find yourself immersing yourself in this up to the neck as soon as you start getting it. This is you have to factor in how much are you going to love this phone, how much are you going to hate not having whatever experience you want to have, having it in this phone as opposed to switching to your tablet, your iPad, your laptop, whatever. And from everything I've had a much more regular sleep schedule, absolutely, than Rene. but mostly it's like finding out that like some engineer has responded to an email like at 2:30 a.m. and I know that if I reply right away and get them on chat, I can actually fire questions before like he has to go to work and I have to go to bed. And every single thing I'm seeing about this phone really does say that this is a phone that you are there's very, very little reason to get off the sofa, go across, find your laptop charger and bring your laptop to you. It's going to be such a great experience using this device for 100 different reasons that I'd say $50. I won't loan you the $50, but I'm going to encourage you to spend the $50.
not my $50, but somebody's $50.
Yeah. And I think it's like $2 on the installment plan difference, or $1 or $2 on the installment plan difference.
Speaking of chargers, much better charger in the box now.
Finally.
For the Pro.
Only the Pro. Okay.
Yeah, the Pro gets the USB-C 18-watt charger, and the 11 gets the usual Lightning.
That's nice, though.
5-watt Lightning charger.
And I noted that you and others on Twitter are still bemoaning the off-center Lightning port.
Yeah, I mean they basically
who cares? Who are these people that care about that?
industrial design geeks, Leo. We care about everything, every hole, every notch, every bit of construction.
I guess so.
Rene, would you and your like be made more happy if, let's say that we sold like a special sort of case where the phone is offset inside the case to make it look like you've got the.
I'm sorry, Andrew. That's a kludge. I don't want a kludge.
But it's also a little bit. It's also a little bit of because people like Apple people were always making fun of Samsung for never being able to align their ports like at all. They have different ports. Like someone took them and threw them on the phone at some point, and now they can't even do it. It's like, so, it's just a little bit of Schadenfreude there.
Yeah, well, that's why like maybe we shouldn't have been making fun of Samsung for doing that. It's like, I mean, it's nice. It's details do matter. And you're always correct whenever you say this is how this thing makes me feel. But there's a difference between the thing that makes me roll my eyes is when it goes from, oh well, gosh, it does look a little bit weird with an offset like that, to fail, loser. This is why Samsung just doesn't get it. It's like, dude, there's an ASIC that had to go there.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of like okay with moving it.
But if you just planned the ASIC last fall, like I told you to.
I bet during the iFix teardown, they didn't even paint the inside of the case as well as they painted the outside.
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
Can never use it again, Andy. Thank you.